You're listening to Money in the Hands of Conscious Women podcast. In this show, I show you how women all over the world manifest money in their life and create more impact. We talk about financial equality, magnetizing more money and abundance, expansion, building empires, destroying codependency. We also talk about building authentic, blissful relationships as ambitious women. We speak about real empowerment, expansive living, and of course, normalizing money in the hands of conscious women. We redefine feminine wealth, and we also claim the creation of conscious legacy. I'm interviewing women who have mastered and harnessed the energy of money in a conscious way. As an entrepreneur with more than a decade of experience in business and leadership mentoring, I have helped thousands of women to claim their financial freedom without sacrificing their mental health. I have done it myself, and so can you. Hello, beautiful beings. Hello, I am so excited to be here with you for another episode of Money in the Hands of Conscious Women. I almost forgot the name of my own podcast because I am literally so excited to be here with Victoria. We just had a little bit of a conversation before we started recording, and I already have goosebumps all over the place, and I love her. We just met a couple of minutes ago, literally 8 minutes ago, right, Victoria? But we were on it. We got the memo. We're wearing hats. For those of you who are watching, you can see that we are wearing hats. For those of you who are listening, you cannot see, but Victoria is wearing an amazing, almost whitish beige hat, and I have a black hat. And so we are just rocking it. I'm so privileged to have you here for another conversation about money in the hands of conscious women. Today, specifically, we will be focusing on somatic practices. We again will be going into conversation of how to attract conscious money in your life. And Victoria is a genius when it comes to that. But without further delay, please, sister, introduce yourself.
Oh my goodness. Hello. I am so excited for this. I have been obsessed with you in the online space, just your presence, and to meet you and your heart and your soul. Your heart is just so expansive and so open. So thank you so much for having me today. And to anyone listening, my name is Victoria Welsh. I am an intuitive business mentor and a wealth embodiment coach. So I help women to really connect with the soul of their business and the hearts of their audience, open heart, expansive heart, so that they can then scale their business and their income, because this is for conscious women. I do this with conscious women. With it, I use like a balance of conscious strategy and energetic mastery so that you become a channel for wealth. And we do the healing work, the embodiment work. I'm an energy healer. I'm a founder and facilitator of retreats, spiritual in-person retreats. And my brand, I'm the CEO of my brand, which is the Soul Rich Life brand. It's the brand for business, soul, and money, freedom, and liberation.
I love that. Wow, I'm mind blown. And also, again, so privileged to have you here, Victoria. Let's start first with your story. We all have stories. I feel like every successful woman has a story when she wasn't that successful, but one day she woke up and she said, fuck it, and she lived happily ever after. So what is your story before you're happily ever after?
So I'm going to say I said fuck it, and it wasn't directly happily ever after, but I'm going to tell, I have such a story. I call my story rags to remembrance instead of rags to riches. And my rags to remembrance was the remembrance of my divine identity of abundance. So I was a nurse for 25 years. I hustled my ass I've been a single mother all my life. I call it, I have two only children because my children are 13 years apart. So I have a 26-year-old and a 13.
Wow.
And I raised them both. Neither one of their dad and I lived together. So I was a single mom for all those years. And I was living in Florida. I had moved away from my family, 1,000 miles away from my family, because I had my awakening, my spiritual awakening, and had realized I had a lot of codependency and shit to clean up and couldn't do it in the space that I was still entangled in codependency. So I moved my son and myself, knowing no one, 1,000 miles away, and started working from home as a nurse just so I could do my healing work and, hire coaches and hire healers and do all the things. And it was around 2019 that I was like, what am I doing? I've been saying I wanted to be a spiritual helper, a spiritual healer, a motivational speaker, literally since college.
Wow.
I'm doing it. So I quit my job, took out my 401k, and started my business in the fall of 2019, right before COVID shut everything down. And I was 6 months into my business. Again, sole provider, no other income. And I had burned through my 401k. I was only making about $1,500 to $2,000 a month in my company. I had I call it if you ever watched the movie or read the book, Eat, Pray, Love, where Elizabeth Gilbert goes to the bathroom and she's like crying out to God. She's on the bathroom floor crying out to God. And she hears a bellowing voice like, go back to bed, Elizabeth, go back to bed. And that's the big epiphany to leave her husband and move to Bali and Italy. On my kitchen floor, crying my eyeballs out because I didn't have enough money for my son's 11th birthday party.
Wow.
I was on my kitchen floor crying, and I was like, okay, God. Okay. Like, where's
I'm here.
Right. Hello, God. It's me, Victoria. Where are you? And I literally heard my own voice in my head, which I now know to be the voice of spirit, God, all the things that said, get up. No one is coming to save you. Get your ass up now off the floor. And I took myself up off the floor and I went to my bookshelf and I grabbed every book that I had, which was 6 of them, about wealth consciousness and money mindset. And I locked myself in my bedroom for 6 days straight. I swear it's like the story of the Bible or something. On the 7th day, my best friend is sleeping in the bed next to me because she's now trying to help me figure out how to market and sell and make money in my business because she knows I'm good at what I do. She can't figure out why I'm not making money at it. It was 3:00 in the morning and I was reading Happy Pocket Full of Money and I sat straight up and I said, oh my fucking God, I get it. I get it. I get it now. It was like a download just came in and it was like, I understand that the conditions I had created was a scarcity consciousness. And I was in such a space, I was always saying, I never have enough money. Money is never here. I was always saying, like, I'm chasing money. And after reading that book, and there was a part in the book that said, conditions are an illusion. You create your conditions through your conditioning. And I was like, I have created this, then I can create that.
Love that.
And it was literally in that moment, I just had that awareness and I began a path of studying money, the conscious energy of money, of studying what it was like, doing like experiments with myself, what it was like when I was in abundance consciousness, when it was like when I was in scarcity, how money flowed in easily when I was not worrying about where the money was going to come from, and how it felt like it was never going to arrive when I sat worrying about the bills.
Yeah.
And in 18 months, I went from $200 in my bank account to multi-6 figures.
Wow. I love this story and good job, girl. I love that. I love your story. I was getting the chills the entire time. And this is, again, such an evidence that anything is possible and that money is there and we have access to it. And it doesn't matter where you are in your journey. What are you doing? Even if you have children, you don't have children, it doesn't matter where you are, who you are, what's your background. You can always change the story, but I feel like it comes in that moment when you just had enough of your own self, like you were sharing this moment of like, okay, I had enough of this. But I want to, there was one thing you shared when you started studying money consciousness. You also answered my second question was why money, but you went there. When you started studying money consciousness, when you started understanding money, I want to speak today predominantly about getting into the physical aspect of money. That's why we also today we're going to focus on somatic practices. So getting back into the body. And for us, money is like, we don't understand money. It's like, what is money? We think money is the paper or the digit, and actually it's not. And when we say it's energy, my clients, for example, when I tell them money is energy, they're like, okay, well, I don't know. So I have this image of money in my head, and I'm very curious, what is yours? I have the image in my head of money, and I call money Mr. Money, like Sex and the City, you know, Mr. Big. So a
Yes.
couple of years ago, I thought, what if I give money an image? And for me, money was very masculine, although funny enough, I've always provided for myself. I've been never treated by a man in that aspect. And it was very masculine and it was super sexy. And he was suited up and he was like big and tall and strong, like, and with everything, the way he smelled, the perfume, and I was just like, oh my God. And money for me became Mr. Money. So what is the image when you think of money? What's that image that you have in your head of money? How does
So
it look
mine's
like?
a little bit different, although I do have two money guides, and I have a
Yeah.
female and a male money guide that I'm very connected to.
Mhm.
Money to me is leaves on the trees. Because
Whoa.
when I started this journey, I started going on walks. My abundance consciousness, wealth consciousness began with me connecting back into my body and connecting to nature.
Mm.
So I would go on walks. Now, knowing, I know, having just told you my story, I
Mhm.
come from a very blue collar family.
Mhm.
We have to know we're definitely going to get into the somatics of money. However, our blueprint, our money blueprint, comes directly from our parents or our caretakers, and
Mhm.
the way that they handled money, the way that they talked about money, the way that they were with money. My dad was a money avoider. My mother was a money spender. And so I had developed both of those archetypes. I was an avoider and a spender.
Mhm.
And so I had a trauma body of
Mhm.
anxiousness with money, which was my mother's that I picked up.
Mhm.
So when I started doing this work and realized that I couldn't just change my mind, I had to embody it. I had to become
Mhm.
a different frequency and connect back in.
Mhm.
I would go on these nature walks and I would I would envision the tiny little leaves were like $10 bills. The bigger leaves were like $50 bills.
I
The
love
bigger
it.
leaves were $100 bills. And I would just be like, I am surrounded by so much money. There was so much
Oh, yes, girl.
of
Mm.
bills hanging all around me. I could connect into the frequency of abundance in nature.
Mhm.
There's an
Mhm.
abundance of sunshine. There's an abundance of waves because I lived at the beach. There's an abundance of sand. There's an abundance of this. But I couldn't get myself connected to money. And that's the way I started connecting to actual money.
You know what I love of what you said? I loved everything, but I really loved when, and I hope that our listeners could catch that. It's connecting to the feeling of money and first connecting to the idea of abundance. Because the problem is And I think a lot of people are like that. It is very difficult if you haven't experienced a lot of money in your life to connect with money and see it as, ooh, yeah, I love it and it's there. But we can certainly connect to the feeling of abundance because it's everywhere. We live in a universe where there's abundance of everything, sometimes not even positive things, because we have abundance of other stuff which are not very positive. But I love that. Can we speak more about, and if you have a better understanding about money archetypes, because you mentioned that, and I think this is super interesting.
Yeah. So there are several money archetypes, and you've got money hoarders, you've got money spenders, you've got the money guru, like the spiritualist. Sometimes the spiritual community is like, not money guru, I meant to say money Buddha. The money Buddha, where it's like, no, I don't need money to exist. I just live off. And there are people that their soul came in this lifetime, and that's how they decided to live in abundance. They didn't desire money for it, and that is perfectly fine too. I, on the other hand, know that our money blueprint, which is the imprint of money, consists of the archetypes we pick up from our parents, and also our ancestors, because the study of epigenetics has been proven that we carry these traumas or money scarcity, fear around money. We carry it in our DNA. They've proven, research has proven 3 generations. In the spiritual community, you'll hear 7 generations, but research so far with the study of epigenetics has proven 3 generations back. So if you go back to your great grandparent, your mother, your grandmother, your great grandmother, whether they, so let's go for instance with mine. My great grandmother and great grandparents were very wealthy in Germany, and they owned a brewery. Unfortunately, and even though they were German, the Nazi army came through and took everything. They just took their brewery away from them. And my great grandparents, who had 5 children, became dirt poor. Literally went from everything to nothing. They went from skiing in the Swiss Alps in the winter and summering in the coast of France to living and trading their art for bread. So scarcity then became like a financial trauma. Had it all, lost it all. That became anchored in my DNA. Fear of success and losing it all.
Wow.
I had no idea was there until I started going through the archetypes that I was working with, the way that I was handling money, this incessant fear around money. Like I had to go and trace back what was going on. So knowing that we have archetypes in our blueprint, which we will get from our caretakers, because we observe and we mirror our caretakers.
Yes.
Money.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, your story. Wow.
I just want to add to that, anyone that comes from, like, I would watch other coaches in the online space, especially luxury coaches, where you're like, oh, I have a desire, I want, I need, I would love to have. But this is why I love talking somatics, and I know we're going to move on to that in a minute. But when you come from money trauma, it is next to impossible to just start manifesting money.
Yes.
It's so much more than just mindset.
So much more. Oh my God. Yes. So much more. I totally agree with you, and I can attest to that. Last year. Last year, I connected with my energy healer because I am moving from 7 figures in my business to 8 figures. And I want to skip the hoops, and I want to do it a little bit faster this year. And so I was having a conversation with her. We met. It's funny because in the beginning of our conversation, you said you're here to do something big. And people tell me this all the time when I connect with them. And I know it's a life purpose. And so I'm a little bit impatient. This is the Taurus energy is always like, let's push through the wall. But
rising, I know.
Are you a Taurus?
Taurus rising. Leo sun.
Oh, yes. So I connected with her and we started having a conversation, and I thought that we're going to work on something totally different. And then all of a sudden she's telling me, Ayo, there's something in the DNA that's going on. It's ancestral. And I was literally, fuck that, because I'm very the kind of a being who's like, I'm not a human. I am a star seed. Please don't connect me to I don't really feel connected to my humanness, which is not the greatest thing because we're here to experience being a human. But most of the time, I'm very connected to my star seed brothers and sisters. And where we come from, there's a lot of luxury, there's a lot of opulence, there's a lot of gold, and I love all these jewelry you can see. But she's like, it's in your human DNA. And I'm like, fuck. And she goes, so she doesn't know anything about me. She goes, has there been, like, have you been trapped? Like, has your ancestors been trapped or locked, or they didn't have their freedom? And I'm like, shit, I'm a Bulgarian. There was 500 years of Turkish slavery. And I'm again, because what you also said, some of us don't get the same handshake. So for some of us who come from that side of the world, where we were literally experiencing war a couple of years ago, we were enslaved for such a long time, we went through all that. As much as I want to be like, I'm super powerful, like I'm that kind of a being, nothing affects me, my zodiac sign doesn't affect me, my human design doesn't affect me, screw this, I can do it. And then she's like, honey, I'm sorry to say that, I know you're very powerful, but there's something there with this Turkish slavery that happened. And she also said there's something there with the communism as well, because exactly what happened to you grandparents with the communism, they came, they took everything. My grandparents, great grandparents were also very rich, and then they took everything away from them. And I started realizing I had this fear of having a lot of money because it will go away. What if one day I wake up and it's not there? So I was the skeptical person. So for everybody listening or watching, I was very skeptical. I was like, no, my DNA, fuck this. We can change the DNA. We're so powerful. And she was like, no, wait, we need to clear this.
Yeah.
So 100%. I want to speak about if you have anything else to add, but if you don't, I'm super interested. I know you have your own method that you use. And it's a mixture between breath work, body work, somatic practices. Can we speak a little bit more about that?
Yes. Okay. I'm going to give a lead in to where I got that, to how I got there.
It. Yes.
So I had done this, like, had this awakening, this like consciousness awakening. And that was in the, it was February of 2020. You know, I don't believe that the universe gives us tests. That's not something I believe in. I believe that we manifest the things that we need to overcome in the way that we're meant to overcome, so that we are not just mastery, not just self-mastery, earth mastery of it, so that we're then able to pass that on. That's what my belief is. So I manifested a series of events in my life. My soul apparently desired them so that my human could overcome and have this level of mastery. My friend stepped forward during that time where I had $200 because, you know, even when we have a huge awakening, the level of consciousness to which we rise, as much as time is not linear, there's actually a little delay until that reaches Earth. Although things can happen immediately, I still was under that, like, oh my gosh, I've got to heal this. I've got to work this out. That sort of thing, right? So a number of things happen. I have $200 in my bank account. A friend then steps up and says, I'll pay your rent for 2 months. I believe in you.
Wow.
I go to visit my family. And while I was there, COVID shut everything down. My mom, who had been in a nursing home, succumbed to her illnesses and passed away. She went into hospice and passed away. I stayed for a month in my hometown to help my dad get situated because he was like 83, 84. When I returned to our home in Florida, a pipe had burst in our wall while we were gone.
Oh no.
Our home had flooded for a month and we didn't know about it. And black mold had taken our entire.
No. Oh, wow.
And we had no homeowners insurance, none. So my son and I were literally homeless. I still had no income. We just had our truck. We only knew 2 people in Florida. Like it was, and we lost all of our possessions. But a way was made where a way didn't seem to be, because what I did was I took that leaning into abundance consciousness, leaning into faith, leaning into the belief that, here was my belief that I anchored into. My soul, decided to come to earth on this journey. And in that decision, everything on the other side said, I will support you if you just believe. I will support. And so I was like, okay, God, source, whatever is out there, support me, show me, because I have no idea how I'm going to do it. And money started showing up. Like I told you, I was only making about $1,500 to $2,000 of my friends in the online space took up GoFundMe's. Money started coming in. I'm talking $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month started rolling in. My son and I manifested a place on the beach. I mean, on the beach, for as much money as we were paying in our place 30 minutes from the beach. I went on a healing journey that was so deep, a healing journey to heal my relationship with my mom who just passed away, my healing journey with money. I spent 9 months in this little beach house, just at the beach every day, healing every aspect of the parts of me that didn't believe I was worthy of money. And so the somatics came, and this is where I was going on my daily like walks and connecting with abundant frequency. And the somatics started coming in when I realized that my trauma response to everything in life was to numb out. If I wanted to avoid an emotion, I was an emotional eater. If I wanted to avoid trauma that happened in my family, I went and worked incessantly. So I was a fight or flight, absolute fight or flight. And when I realized that in fight or flight, you disassociate from your body.
Yes.
It was then that I was like, no wonder I have so much anxiety around money. I'm constantly in my head, worried about bills, about money, about if something's going to go wrong, if the next client's going to make their payment or not. I was so in my head all of the time. I needed to, my next step of the journey was to take the journey from my head to my heart.
Yes. The longest journey.
The longest. I already had so many aspects of it, but I was like, I'm doing the mindset work every day. I'm shifting my beliefs. I'm shifting what I believe in, but it still wasn't like, and money was showing up, yes, but it wasn't like, it was like, it wasn't any growth. It was just showing up. It was just showing up. Like money was showing up. Like, we got you. But it was like, this still, I know that there's more. I know that there's more. And so at the same time that I started doing, if anyone out there wants to know the resource, I used the John Randolph Price book, which was like the 40 Days of Prosperity, the prosperity book. And every day you write a new.
I think I know it. The abundance book.
Yeah, it's a tiny little, it's
literally the green one.
Yes. So I started doing that book, and it's 40 days, and I would just start it over every 40 days. And it was a new affirmation that you don't just write, but you meditate on it. Like you allow those words get into. And I would do that every day. And then I started learning about somatic practices. When I realized that I needed to move the energy, the stagnant energy out of my body, also take a trip, I realized simultaneously I could do that with a combination of tapping, breath work, dancing. I even purchased I don't know if you've seen it. It's like advertised everywhere on Instagram, like the hyperbolic stretching, because I learned that your trauma is for your hips. And I was like,
Yes, for
if I learn
sure.
splits,
Yeah.
then I'm going to release
You,
this.
I'm gonna release it. Once I stretch down there, I will release it. Yes.
And so I was doing anything I could, as well as working with an energy healer. I was getting, I have the most incredible in-person massage therapist and a shaman combined together. And
How does it even come together? That's amazing.
she works on my body, and there's like
Love it.
rods all under the table, and there's sticks that she.
Love it.
So I was doing in person, I was doing online, I was doing everything I could, and I was dedicated and devoted to myself each and every morning. I was either doing a breathwork session, or I was dancing, or I even got the therapy balls, and I would roll out your
Yes.
muscle.
Yeah.
Is
These
one
are
of
so good.
yes. So I would roll on my therapy balls on the psoas muscle every day, and I would just cry, and I would release, and I would just get back in my body, because not only had my trauma response been the fight or flight, but I had been outside of my body for so long that I couldn't look at my body naked in a mirror. I didn't respect my body. I didn't have any love for my body. So this money journey was so much greater and
Yes.
than I could have imagined. So the practice, the method, from doing all of these different modalities, I then went and got certified in EFT tapping, and I got certified in something called silent counseling, and I got certified in light body healing modality, which is just another like biofield manipulation. And I just started combining them all. And in combining them all on myself, I realized that, and self-hypnosis. Self-hypnosis is the end part of it. So the rapid emotional release is an extraction of the belief, because it starts with the mind, right? Mind, soul. So it's extraction of the belief that's holding you back, or that you don't think is possible for you. It's the energy work or embodiment work to release it from the body, and then hypnosis at the end of it to subconsciously reprogram and rewire it into the psyche.
Wow.
Whole like mind, body, soul approach. And then the soul part of it is always, during the hypnosis, we tune back in to your divine identity of abundance.
It's like layers on layers on layers on layers. And so often people get so frustrated that it's not working. They're like, well, I tried this and it didn't work. Well, maybe because you peeled only one layer of it. Maybe it's stuck somewhere else. And when you were just speaking, so many things were coming to mind. When you were speaking, you were out of your body. I remember one of the moments when I was very frustrated. I was inventing my business in the beginning of 2022, and I literally, after one practice, I literally felt like my soul came back into my body, and I could smell better, I could see better, and I was like, wow, is that how it feels like? And so that's why we're here to speak about conscious money, because the thing is that sometimes when we get so locked on receiving and earning more money, we can slightly derail and get dehumanize and get out of that and get so focused and obsessed. And I've been there personally, where I felt like totally obsessed with that, and I wanted it so much that I totally dislocated myself. My soul was not fully in my body. So I can 100% agree with that. And then when you were saying with, that's why I laughed with the splits, because literally the other day I was stretching and I was like, yeah, let's get all this out of my thighs, because I can feel it. And I'm certified in the emotion code, and the emotion code releases trapped emotions in the body. And what we find with women is that women trap emotions around money in three main areas. I thought it's going to be more. I thought it's going to be the womb in the first place, but it wasn't. It was the shoulders. So when you feel heavy in your shoulders, lower back pain as well, and thighs. And I had one client in December. She had a little bit of a month, in business. Let's normalize it. We can go through moments. It's okay. Not freak out. She was constantly saying, my back is killing me. My back is killing my lower back. It's so bad. It's so bad. And she wasn't sharing openly that she's starting to get a little bit freaked out a lot around money, because if we say this to someone who's really freaking out about money, they'll be like, why are you freaking out this amount of money? That's a lot of money. She's not used to that. She's used to much more. And so I told her, hey, I think this is a money thing. We need to get it out. And the last part that was so funny was the tapping part. Yesterday, I tapped in front of my mother. She's a Bulgarian woman, for the first time. So I was just sitting and tapping. She's like, are you okay? Because I did everything, tap, tap, tap on the side, everywhere, tap, 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 tap. And she was like, are you okay? And I'm like, oh, this is a practice to release some things. And I had such a long day yesterday. She was like, I thought you lost it finally. And I was like, yeah, I kind of did, but
this is how I regain myself.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. Is there anything else you would love to share that comes from your heart for everybody who is listening, who is on a similar journey like you were a couple of years ago? Your story of faith is so inspirational and so beautiful. And I want to thank Victoria from 2 years ago. Thank you for keeping on doing the work, and just, I'm so grateful that you made it and you're here now.
So much. So let me just tune in, just see if there's a message to come through really quick. Okay, so this message is for the woman who's had an awakening, who is conscious, who wants to do great things in the world, but doesn't believe that money is for her. Perhaps she's come from scarcity, not necessarily poverty, but scarcity consciousness. She's come from a place where maybe she's had some big money traumas. I myself, I've had a foreclosure, I've lost vehicles, I had a bankruptcy. I just want you to tune into your soul. Take time daily for soul devotion, because your soul, take away money, your soul came here with desires. And those desires are a direct call to action from the divine itself. The things that you desire, they are coming through you as the divine desiring to live through you and experience life through you. They are meant for you. We are not meant to say no to our desires. We are meant to decondition the human that doesn't believe that it's possible. So just stay on the course. Mind, do your body, do your mind work, your belief work, the body work, the somatic work, and reconnect with your soul daily.
That was just beautiful. Thank you so much, Victoria. The only thing I want to add is what I always say, and I've been saying this in this podcast. If you have a desire deep inside of your heart and your soul, there's a reason for this desire to be there. There's a reason why you want something so much. Again, I am so blessed to have you on my side, and I truly appreciate you. I hope everybody loved this conversation. If people want to reach out and if you want to work with Victoria, there will be information in the introduction part as a comment. Just look the details. You will find all her links. She's a beautiful, beautiful goddess. Thank you so much for listening and being here.